Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. More Premier League clubs are interested in signing Nicolas Jackson. We have an update regarding João Félix. Saudi clubs are interested in Alfie Gilchrist. We finally have a price tag revealed for Morgan Rogers, and Xavi Simons to Chelsea could be on. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Kicking things off, Ben Jacobs has reported if Chelsea sell Jackson and Nkunku, then you maybe could see Chelsea pivot back to someone like Benjamin Sesko, even though they ruled him out before, because they may feel like they need two out-and-out proper number 9s. I don't really know how I feel about this, because we know that Jackson's future is kind of written on the wall in terms of Chelsea are happy to let him go. If they get the right offer for him, they are happy to let him go. And we're going to talk about Jackson in just a second, because more Premier League clubs are interested in signing him, and the Italian clubs, as we know, just can't simply afford the transfer fee. But Nkunku as well, the door is open for him, we know that, but it looks like, you know, if you checked out yesterday's video, the club are quite happy for Nkunku to stay. They see an improvement in his recent performances, and he can play a multitude of positions and can line up in various positions alongside João Pedro, who is another player who is, you know, can play in various positions. And Enzo Maresca wants players like that in our starting 11. So there's a lot of question marks around these two players, because if you'd have asked us 6-7 months ago, or even 4 or 5 months ago, if Jackson was going to be sold, yes, people might have wanted him to be sold, but it didn't look like he was going to be. But Nkunku, yeah, he wanted to leave in January. He was trying to force a move away to Bayern Munich. Whether or not that's true, to the T of him pushing for the move, or Chelsea were trying to get rid of him, or it was a mix of the two, we don't really know the complete outcome because we don't know them personally, right? But it appeared that Nkunku wanted to push for a move. He was really trying to leave Chelsea. His body language was awful. He didn't look like he didn't want to be there. Whether it was a lack of confidence, I don't know. But he looks like a completely different player at the last few games of the season and the Club World Cup tournament. So I find it quite strange how those two players and the situation on them have changed so quickly in the last sort of like 4 or 5 weeks especially. But for Chelsea to go back in for Benjamin Sesko once we ruled him out, I just really don't see it happening. And the reason I don't see it happening is Arsenal were going after Sesko for so long. And then he was linked with Chelsea, he was linked with Arsenal, he was linked with Manchester United. And one by one, the clubs dropped out. Chelsea were the first to say, yeah, no, we're not going to pay the ridiculous fee that RB Leipzig want for Sesko, which I think was like 80 million, 90 million pounds. Whether it was release clause with some sort of tax on top or whatever it was a stupid amount of money for a player like Sesko. He's a fantastic player, but when you had the likes of Osimhen and Gyokeres and all these other class number 9s, and the fact that we signed Liam Delap for 30 million pounds, like, it just didn't make sense that you go to Leipzig and spend 80, 90 million or 70 to 90 million on Sesko. Man United dropped out very quickly, whether that was United dropping out of Sesko just not being interested at all. And then there was a lot of talks that Sesko was going to Arsenal and Arsenal wanted him and whatnot. And then they dropped it. They were like, we don't want to pay the fee. We're going to go for Gyokeres. And that's a completely different story, but they can't seem to get that deal over the line anyway. But regardless of Arsenal's transfer window, I just don't see Chelsea selling someone like Nkunku or Jackson or both and then going to get Sesko. I don't know why we would do that. I mean, hey, I wouldn't say no to Sesko. It's just the amount of money that Leipzig want for him. I'd rather spend that money on another player. I'd rather, if you're going to sell Jackson and keep Nkunku, cool. If you're going to keep Jackson, selling Nkunku, cool. You're going to get some extra revenue that way. But I wouldn't want to sell both of them, sell ourselves short, because if we're looking at this window as a one in, one out style thing, and we're losing 2 players to get one in, if they're going to utilise Nkunku as a player who can play a multitude of positions in a Maresca system, and you're selling him and Jackson to replace him with one number 9, unless you're going to go and get an unbelievably world-class striker, it's really not worth it, in my opinion. That's just in my opinion. I can't see Chelsea going to drop massive money on Sesko if they go and sell Jackson and Nkunku. To me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, okay, I'm happy to be proven wrong, of course, and I would love to know your thoughts down below. Would you like Chelsea to go for Benjamin Sesko if we was to sell Jackson and Nkunku? Or are you on my side in terms of, not like we've got sides, but of the same opinion that it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Chelsea to go drop that amount of money unless it's a world-class striker? Yeah. So I'd love to know your thoughts down below. I personally feel like Jackson will probably be sold this summer, and I feel like Nkunku may actually stay at Chelsea. But again, we'll see how things play out. Commando 91 has reported breaking news. Arsenal could make a move for Nicolas Jackson or Ollie Watkins if they fail to secure a deal to sign Victor Gyokeres. Now, I don't want to use this segment just to bash on Arsenal, right? But they really can't get a deal over the line this summer. Yes, they've signed Kepa. Yes, they've signed Madueke. But when it comes to that number 9 position, they've had nothing but issues with it. The ongoing saga with Sesko, that fell flat on its face. The ongoing saga with Victor Gyokeres, it's just getting ridiculous how stretched out it is. We were waiting for the here we go. Everyone was like, oh, cool, Arsenal signed Gyokeres. That's going to be a bit of a problem. How is he going to do in the Premier League? And it's just stalled. You've got Sporting refusing to sell him. You've got Gyokeres who's now moved out of his house and is refusing to go to training because he's trying to force the move. Arsenal are just sitting there like, what's going on? It just seems like they can't get this deal over the line. And if they do, again, I think it's a massive, massive move for Arsenal, and we all kind of have to look at that and go, how's Gyokeres going to do in the Premier League, considering he's just a goal machine, right? I would love to have had him at Chelsea if we were going to go out and spend big money on him. I feel like he wouldn't fit specifically in an Enzo Maresca system, but I think he would do very well at scoring goals because that's the one thing we were lacking, right? And also, I'm very happy with the signings that we have made. But if Arsenal can't get over the line and they're going to go for Nicolas Jackson, that's hilarious. And not because it's Nicolas Jackson, but it's because Arsenal are obsessed with buying players from us. Players that we are happy to sell. Look at the Noni Madueke one. There is a long list. Willian, Cech, David Luiz. Like, the list goes on and on. Jorginho, Havertz. There's so many. And I think someone worked it out. I think it was actually Lee Gunner that was saying I saw on a clip that was like, over the last 4 or 5 years, Arsenal have given Chelsea like £200 million. Which is wild when you think about it. So the fact that they're thinking about Nicolas Jackson shows one of two things. One, Arsenal and Chelsea have this weird transfer relationship where Arsenal are happy to buy players off of us that, you know, we're happy to sell, which is what it is. They're just giving us money. And the second thing is the world is in short demand. Well, no, high demand and short supply of number 9s. That's literally it. Nicolas Jackson, we know that Chelsea said they see him as a potential £100 million striker. We know if he becomes a £100 million striker, fair enough. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But as of right now, he is not a £100 million striker. And I don't see him becoming one this season or next season, but maybe the season after. I don't know. Again, happy to be proven wrong. Chelsea have basically said 60 million. If you give us 60 mil, you can have him. And I think that that's fair because I don't think we're really trying to push him out the door. Jackson has said he wants to fight for his place and he loves being at the club. And I rate that. I really do. I respect that. He wants to put his head down, work hard and fight his way back into the team because in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, he's gone from our first choice striker to our third choice. And that's got to be a big knock on his confidence. And so there's a lot to deal with. So I respect the fact he wants to stay, he wants to fight for his position. But if someone gives us £60 million, he is gone. Is that going to be Arsenal? Is that going to be Manchester United? Because we went over yesterday on the stories around Jackson, how the Italian clubs just can't afford it. They can't afford it. They value Jackson around £43 million. Chelsea are like, nope, we're not actively trying to sell him. We see him as a £100 million striker. Give us 60, he can go. They can't touch that. So it's going to be a Premier League club that comes in and buys him. Will it be Arsenal? Will it be Manchester United? If it's Arsenal, that's hilarious. And I just think that's hilarious. Or they're going to go for Ollie Watkins. But the thing is with Aston Villa, we're going to speak about them in a little bit in this video, so make sure you keep watching. Aston Villa are in a very tight position with PSR, which means any deal that you're going to do with Aston Villa, they're going to slap a massive premium on top because they want to get out of the hole that they're in when it comes to PSR. They're having to sell players, or clubs are coming in for players that they don't want to sell. So they're going to slap a premium on it. So I don't know where Arsenal would go. I mean, the Gyokeres deal might go through. It might go through as soon as I upload this video, right? And then this kind of goes away. But if it doesn't go through and they can't get over the line, they're now looking at Jackson. You got United looking at Jackson, and you got Arsenal looking at Jackson. I'm very curious to see how this plays out. Does Jackson stay at Chelsea? Does he go to Arsenal? Does he go to Man United? I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. Yesterday's video, a lot of you guys made it very apparent that you're more than happy to sell Jackson. But do you think that Chelsea could get £60 million for him? That's the bigger question. Where do you think he goes? Can we get £60 million for him, or will we have to settle for less? Does he end up staying? Does he end up going? Let me know your thoughts. Court Offside have reported that Porto and Flamengo have both had offers for João Félix rejected as the Chelsea playmaker continues to prioritise a return to Benfica. The more and more this goes on, the more and more the writing's on the wall. I think João Félix is gone. We know this for a longest time. We know he's been on that list of players to sell. We thought it was going to be quite difficult to offload him. I still think it is going to be relatively difficult. Obviously, he took a wage cut to come to Chelsea, and I massively respect that. And I'd love, on a personal level, I like João Félix. I would want him to have another chance this season, but it just doesn't look like it's going to happen, right? He has this emotional connection with Benfica. Fair enough. Benfica really want to buy him. They can't quite afford the amount of money we want. But I feel like Chelsea may be in a position and be willing to break down a little instalment plan for them, make it a little bit cheaper. Because if the player's turning down the likes of Porto and Flamengo because he wants to go to Benfica, I think it makes sense for all parties. It makes sense for all parties. We've made more money than we thought we were going to already in the summer window by selling the likes of Petrovic, Noni Madueke, obviously the Club World Cup. So like profit isn't really a massive deal if we make a little bit less profit on one player or a little bit of a loss on one player, considering all the profit we've made on everything else, right? So I could potentially see Chelsea doing a reduced fee for Benfica specifically, maybe because the player wants to go there, Benfica want him, and if the player's turning down other clubs because he wants to go to a place, like when he come to us, he said, "I'm happy to take a pay cut." Like, fair. I think João Félix at this point just wants to play regular football. He's been bounced around Europe so much, and it's just his agent trying to rack up agent fees and transfer fees for him. And I just think it's wild, mate. I really think it's wild. João Félix deserves to be playing regular football. He's a very, very good player. Yes, his output needs to be, better statistically, but he's a joyful player to watch, and he's got a he's technically gifted, let's be honest. So if he wants to go to Benfica, cool. I see that happening. I really do. I just wanted to get you guys updated on anything on João Félix. I know there's a lot of you that really like him and want to keep him at Stamford Bridge as well. But yeah, it looks like he's going to go to Benfica, or that saga is continuing. He really wants to push for the move. It's just down to Chelsea and Benfica to actually negotiate a price that we're all happy with. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you think João Félix stays at Chelsea this season? Does he go to Benfica? Will Chelsea work something out with Benfica specifically, or will they just hold out for a bigger fee from another club and just go, tough, you're going there because they're paying the amount of money? Let me know your thoughts down below. Ben Jacobs also spoke about Marc Cucurella's contract, and he said he's very happy to stay at Chelsea and he's also happy with his wage packet. So there's no real agitation on that end from Chelsea. Now, this is really, it's not a nothing story. It's just something I wanted to touch on purely because we have incentivized based contracts, right, and wages. And we've had that for the last few seasons. Marc Cucurella is unbelievable. Cornerstone of an Enzo Maresca team. One of the best left backs in the world, right? This guy has played so many minutes. It's ridiculous. He hasn't had a break. And I just feel like if of all our players this season that deserves a pay rise, it's got to be Cucurella, right? Cole Palmer got one, rightfully so. Jackson got one, debatable. He did improve, but debatable, right? Considering you've got the likes of Caicedo and Enzo and Cucurella, below him in that pecking order of getting that pay rise. Caicedo's in negotiations to get a new contract, rightfully deserved. One of the best DMs in the world. Surely Cucurella is, even though he's happy with his contract and being at Chelsea and being happy with being there, which I absolutely love, by the way. I'm an absolute legend. Or can go on to become one. He's an incredible player. Even though he's not asking for more wages, it would be the right thing for Chelsea to go, you've been incredible, so we're going to give you a pay rise. Now, they may have already done that behind the scenes and not really said anything. They may not even be thinking about it. I just wanted to speak to you guys to get your opinions. Do you feel like Marc Cucurella deserves a pay rise based on his performances over the last, 18 months? Because he's been super consistent. He's not had a break. He's saved us on so many occasions. And I feel like, obviously, you've got other members of the squad that have really improved this season, across the season. Yes, they've got this bonus from the Club World Cup, but they wasn't really expecting that. They weren't playing for that in mind. It was to win the trophy. That's just a nice bonus. It's in the name of it, right? It's a bonus that comes with it. But in terms of the contract, you've even got the likes of, Levi Colwell and a lot of other young players. Tyreek George is on a minimal amount of this, minimal amount a week compared to his peers. I think he's had a very good improvement season. They should bump his pay pack up, regardless if he goes on loan or not. Little things like that throughout the squad. So I just want to know your thoughts on Marc Cucurella. Do you feel like it deserves a wage increase, or you're not really that bothered? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Marc Cucurella. Can he be a Chelsea legend in time to come? Ben Jacobs has also reported that Saudi clubs have made an approach for Alfie Gilchrist, and Championship clubs are also interested in him. He is set to leave Chelsea this summer. We really don't want Alfie Gilchrist to leave. He's one of our own. He plays with passion, fantastic player. But realistically, his pathway to the first team is pretty much blocked at all avenues. Whether it's centre-back, whether it's right-back. Let's be real. And Chelsea have said, he went out on loan. He did very, very well. He's developed more. But again, pathway's blocked. So he's going to be up for sale this summer. It is going to be a pure profit type thing, which is great for the books if you want to look at it that way. But from a fan perspective, Chelsea have been known to do this for the last 25 years with their youth, their academy, right? Selling them for profit. They can't. There's no pathway through. And then obviously the last few years, we've had these breakout players because we've needed to rely on the academy a lot more. And we're starting to bring the youth more, through a lot more, which I absolutely love to see. But it's going to get to start getting to the positions now where the pathways are blocked. Because if we bring Alfie Gilchrist back, who can play centre-back and right-back, just at right-back alone, you've got Ashimpong, Gusto, Reece James. You add Alfie Gilchrist to that, realistically, how many minutes is he going to get across those other three ahead of him, right? And then in the centre-back role, we're stacked. And yes, we might be offloading some, and we might be looking to get one more in to shore it up, but it's not going to be Alfie Gilchrist, unfortunately. Now, if Saudi clubs are interested, as much as I don't want to sell Gilchrist, but, you know, game's the game, and we are going to be selling him. If Saudi clubs are interested, give me £45 million. Give me £45 million if a Saudi club is interested in Gilchrist. That's what I'm asking for. That is what I want. Championship clubs, cool. I still think he's going to be worth, what, 25 million? 25, 30 million, maybe 20 million, I don't know. But again, it's going to be pure profit. He's a young player with a lot of potential, bags of ability, and he's already showcased how good he can be at the highest level when he's played for Chelsea, when he was, you know, called upon last season. He had a very good development season this season on loan. So it'd be interesting to see what Chelsea let him go for. But if Saudi are interested, 45 million is what I'd be asking for. Minimum. But like, you've got the bag. Why not? I also don't think that he will go to Saudi. I don't think Gilchrist at his age is going to go to Saudi Arabia. There's different ways of looking at it. I think he's at the age where he could go for a few years, earn generational wealth, and then come back to European football because of his age. Or it could be at the same time where he's not really that fussed on the money. He just wants to play regular football at the highest level. So he is going to make that move. Earn his stripes, so to say, have all that English experience, and then go to somewhere like Saudi later on in his career. You never really know how it's going to play out, but all I'm saying is if Saudi are coming in, they're really interested in him, 45 mil or nothing, regardless of anything else. But if the Championship club's going in for him, I don't know how much they would be willing to pay. I don't know how much Chelsea would be willing to let him go for. I can imagine it'd be a relatively high fee for someone of his age, but I think he's worth every single penny. I really, really do. It's one of those bittersweet where I don't want to see him go, but at the same time, I want him to be happy if he leaves, and I want him to really kick on and do well. So I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on Alfie Gilchrist down below. How much would you want from a Saudi club if they came in for him? Are you along the lines of me? We're saying, right, just slap a premium on 45 million? Or would you rather him go to the Championship and stay in English football and you know, really progress for his career? How much do you think Chelsea would sell to a Championship club opposed to a Saudi club? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. The Sun Sport have reported that Chelsea have made Aston Villa star Morgan Rogers their top target for the remainder of the transfer window and will push the boat out for the £80 million rated England star. And Football LDN have reported that Aston Villa are reportedly willing to do business if the fee is at least £80 million for Morgan Rogers arrives their way, as they look to put themselves in a stronger position PSR-wise. Now look, I would love to see Morgan Rogers at Chelsea. I think he's a wonderful player, fantastic player. He could play anywhere across that front three. Mainly as a 10, on the right, on the left. He can do it all. He is amazing. He really, really is. And like I said previously in the video, Aston Villa are in such a PSR hole that they're going to have to slap premiums on for the players they don't really want to sell to try and get themselves out of that PSR hole. £80 million for Morgan Rogers, for me, is too much. It's too much money. Now, I know that Mbeumo's gone for stupid money. I know that Cunha's gone for stupid money. I know that Madueke was sold for silly money, in my opinion. I know that the sort of standard pricing for players in the Premier League is getting outrageous, right? It genuinely is. There's just too much money in this league for fans to kind of comprehend what a fair market price is. But Aston Villa don't want to sell Morgan Rogers. That's why they're slapping a massive premium on, and they need to get out of a PSR hole. Now, I want to go over Morgan Rogers' stats from last season, just to kind of get a real comparison and kind of break it down, because I do think he'd be an amazing player in Enzo Maresca's system. He's good friends with Cole Palmer, which is great. It's that togetherness. It would be so cool to have them both doing the cold celebration together. That'd be amazing. But in terms of output, he's a fantastic player. He just is. He's Prem proven. He's young. I think it makes sense. But for me, it doesn't make sense for £80 million. But let's check out his stats. So across the 24-25 season, in all competitions, he played 54 games. He scored 14 goals and got 15 assists. That's really impressive. That's very balanced in terms of creating chances and putting them away. 37 games in the Premier League, 8 goals, 11 assists. I like that for someone who can play as a 10 or as a winger. It's a good contribution, especially to a team effort. And then in the Champions League, 12 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. Again, incredibly balanced in that sense. FA Cup, 5 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. I think he had a very good season. I think he just has a good season, right? And I just don't know if it's worth £80 million. When I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that unreal. And I'm not a stat merchant. That's just to back up the eye test, right? Every time I see him play, I'm like, he's an exciting player that gets me to the edge of my seat. Or I see highlights of a Villa game, he's always at the core of things, right? And some say he had a very quiet season this season, which is wild, considering the output that he's had and how good he looks on the ball. I just don't see £80 million as a fair price. I know Villa don't really want to sell him, and that's fine. But I'm trying to work out what I would actually pay for Morgan Rogers. What is a realistic price? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Morgan Rogers to Chelsea. Do you still want him? Do you think it makes sense? Do you think he's not going to play? What do you think is a fair market price for him? Would you pay £80 million for him? Or would you pay a lot less? For me personally, I would say the most I would pay for Morgan Rogers, seeing how all the other transfers have gone this summer, is £60 million. Whether it's 55 with 5 million on add-ons, whether it's £60 million and £2.5–3 million of add-ons that are, relatively easy to get, whatever. But 60 million is probably the ideal of what I would pay for Morgan Rogers. And I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Do you see him coming to Chelsea? Do you see Chelsea going all out for Morgan Rogers? Do you see £80 million being a fair price? It's just blowing my mind. It blows my mind. But I'd love to know your thoughts down below. And BILD have reported that Xavi Simons prefers a move to the Premier League and has brought in super agent Ali Barrat to help facilitate a move. Barrat is expected to approach Chelsea. RB Leipzig will want significantly more than £43 million they spent on him in the winter. Now this is another player who genuinely excites me. Xavi Simons is so technically gifted. What a player. The whole world was watching him at periods of, was it last season, season before? No, it was the start of this season, I believe. Unbelievable. We're going to go over his stats as well. Now, this to me, if we had the choice of Morgan Rogers and Xavi Simons, I'd be happy with either. I think they're both fantastic players that can play primarily as a 10, but on the right and on the left if needed. Perfect for a Maresca system, right? They're both very young. The only difference between Rogers and Simons, I don't know what's going on with my mic here, the only difference between Rogers and Simons is Rogers has Premier League experience. Fair enough. But if we could get Xavi Simons for around that 55–60 million, that's 20 to 30 million cheaper than Rogers. Is that extra 20 to 30 million, depending on if it's 50 or 60 mil, that difference, is that what you pay for Premier experience? Because I personally wouldn't pay that. If it come to it and you've got Xavi Simons and Morgan Rogers both for £60 million, then I would flip a coin, if I'm being honest, because they're both exciting players, very technically gifted, that can really impact aside. What I like about Xavi Simons specifically is he's a very passionate player. You know what you're getting with him. He'll put his body on the line, he'll fight for the club, he'll give everything he's got. Now, the other concerning thing that I have with Xavi Simons is how quickly he's moving around. And it's not necessarily his fault, right? He's bringing in a super agent, Ali Barrat, who was a massive factor in the Caicedo deal, by the way. So he obviously has a good relationship with Chelsea. Now, Leipzig spent 50 million euros or £43 million on him in January. 6 months ago, and he's willing to move now. That's wild, because Chelsea are going to want to lock him down for like 40 years, because that's what we do, right? We pay bigger money and we'll put you on a lower wage across a long period of time. So if he's willing to do that, because now we are the world champions and we're going to have incredible pull for a lot of these players, they're going to be wanting to play for the world champions, as it raises their profile, and obviously we're the world champions, so it makes sense. How much do you realistically think Chelsea could get for Xavi Simons if Leipzig just want to make they say significantly more than the 43 million that they spent? So what is that? 60 mil? 55 million? 70 million? Are they going to ask for something ridiculous like 90 million like they are with Sesko? That's the other angle of it, is are they going to do a Sesko and be like, yeah, we know he's really good, 90 mil? Because if it is, and you go for Rogers because he works out cheaper, this is where I get so confused with it, because I'm like, who would I prefer? I don't really know. I would happily take both, because I think they're fantastic players. The ball carrying is great. They're technically gifted. They can provide goals. They can obviously create chances for the team. Let's take a quick look at Xavi Simons' stats for last season, and I want to know your guys' opinions down below, like Morgan Rogers versus Xavi Simons type thing, price and stats, and let me know your thoughts. Okay, so when we look at his stats, he played across all competitions, which is the Bundesliga, the Champions League, and I believe like the DFB Pokal, the German Cup. 33 games in total, with 11 goals and 8 assists, which I think is still a good return for an attacking midfielder. You could argue that you expected more of a return because it's the Bundesliga, right? But I think it's all relative. He's still a very young player, and we know how good he is. He didn't get any goals or assists in the Champions League in his 5 games, fair enough. But if you're just looking at stats only, then you go Morgan Rogers. He had a better season. Played more competitions, provided more goals, more assists. Yes, he played 24 games more. However, that's just kind of what you got if you're just looking at stats. Eye test, again, both very exciting players. Very exciting players, and it's tough. I would love to see Xavi Simons in a Chelsea shirt. I think it would make so much sense. It would just be another case of how much are Leipzig going to try and squeeze Chelsea for. And it's the same with Villa. What would you do if you were running Chelsea Football Club? They're the two players that you can buy. How much would you be willing to spend on either? Who would you prefer out of the two? Because they could both play centrally, mainly, and also on the left and right. So they are versatile. They fit in a Maresca system. Where are they going to play? Well, I can see them as rotation for Palmer. I can see them as rotation for Gittins on the left. I could, wherever they're needed. So that's the other factor. So a lot of you guys in the comments have been saying, why would we go spend stupid amount of money on someone who's going to be a rotation player? And I hear it. I feel like the caveat is a lot of clubs are just demanding more money. They're demanding more money. When you think about it, Arsenal spent £50 million on a potential backup right winger, or £52 million on a backup right winger. Yes, they've said they're going to primarily play him on the left, so he might get more game time that way. But just to put things into context, so Chelsea got a stacked squad. We are looking to offload. We're going to have the money. It's not a problem. But it's what are you guys willing to spend on these two players, and who do you prefer? Who do you think would do better in a Chelsea shirt? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. And that's all the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that. You're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.